in which our happy couples learn that life is not easy, whether as newlyweds or as recent divorcees. Chapter 18. Levine could not look calmly at his brother, could not be natural and calm in his presence. When he entered the sick man's room, his eyes and attention would unconsciously become veiled, and he did not see or distinguish the details of his brother's condition. He smelled the terrible stench, saw the filth, the disorder, and the painful posture and groaning, and felt that it was impossible to give help. It did not even occur to him to look into the details of the sick man's state, to think of how this body lay there under the blanket, how the emaciated shins, legs, back lay bent there, and whether they could not be laid out better, to do something, if not to improve things, at least to make them less bad. A chill went down his spine when he began to think of these details. He was certain beyond doubt that nothing could be done to prolong his life or alleviate his suffering. But the sick man sensed his awareness that he considered all help impossible, and was annoyed by it, and that made it still harder for Levine. To be in the sick room was torture for him. Not to be there was still worse, and on various pretexts he kept going out and coming back again, unable to stay alone. But Kitty thought, felt, and acted quite differently. At the sight of the sick man, she felt pity for him, and pity in her woman's soul produced none of the horror and squeamishness it did in her husband, but a need to act, to find out all the details of his condition and help with them. As she did not have the slightest doubt that she had to help him, so she had no doubt that it was possible, and she got down to work at once. Those same details, the mere thought of which horrified her husband, at once attracted her attention. She sent for the doctor, sent to the pharmacy, ordered Marya Nikolaevna and the maid who had come with her to sweep, dust, scrub, washed and rinsed something herself, put something under the blanket. On her orders things were brought in and carried out of the sick man's room. She went to her room several times, paying no attention to the passing gentlemen she met, to fetch and bring sheets, pillowcases, towels, shirts. The waiter, who was serving dinner to some engineers in the common room, several times came at her call with an angry face, but could not help carrying out her orders, because she gave them with such gentle insistence that it was simply impossible to walk away from her. Levine disapproved of it all. He did not believe it could be of any use to the sick man. Most of all, he feared that his brother would get angry. But though he seemed indifferent, he did not get angry, but only embarrassed, and generally appeared interested in what she was doing to him. Coming back from the doctor, to whom Kitty had sent him, Levine opened the door and found the sick man at the moment when, on Kitty's orders, his underwear was being changed. The long white frame of his back, with enormous protruding shoulder blades, the ribs and vertebrae sticking out, was bare, and Marya Nikolaevna and the waiter had got tangled in his shirt sleeve, unable to put the long dangling arm into it. Kitty, who hastily closed the door behind Levine, was not looking in that direction, but the sick man moaned, and she quickly went to him. "Hurry up," she said. Don't come here, the sick man said crossly. I myself. What's that? Marya Nikolaevna asked. But Kitty heard and understood that he found it embarrassing and unpleasant to be naked in front of her. I'm not looking, she said, putting the arm right. Marya Nikolaevna, go around to the other side and put it right, she added. Go, please, there's a vial in my small bag. She turned to her husband. You know, in the side pocket. Bring it, please, while they straighten everything up here. When he returned with the vial, Levine found the sick man lying down, and everything around him completely changed. The heavy smell was replaced by the smell of vinegar and scent, which Kitty, her lips pursed and her red cheeks puffed out, was spraying through a little pipe. No dust could be seen anywhere. There was a rug beside the bed. Vials and a carafe stood neatly on the table, where the necessary linen lay folded, along with Kitty's broderie anglaise. On the other table, by the sick bed, were drink, a candle, and powders. The sick man himself, washed and combed, lay on clean sheets, on high-propped pillows, in a clean shirt, in white collar encircling his unnaturally thin neck, and looked at Kitty, not taking his eyes off her, with a new expression of hope. The doctor brought by Levine, who had found him at his club, was not the one who had treated Nikolai Levine and with whom he was displeased. The new doctor took out a little tube and listened to the patient's chest, shook his head, wrote a prescription, and explained it with particular thoroughness. First, how to take the medicine, then what diet to observe. He advised eggs, raw or slightly boiled, and seltzer water with fresh milk at a certain temperature. When the doctor left, the sick man said something to his brother, but Levine heard only the last words, Your Katya. And by the look he gave her, Levine understood that he was praising her. He beckoned to Katya, as he called her, to come over. I'm much better already, he said. With you, I'd have recovered long ago. How nice. He took her hand and drew it toward his lips, but as if fearing it would be unpleasant for her, changed his mind, let go, and only stroked it. Kitty took his hand in both of hers and pressed it. Now, turn me on my left side and go to bed, he said. No one made out what he said. Only Kitty understood him. She understood because her thought constantly followed what he needed. On the other side, she said to her husband. He always sleeps on that side. Turn him. It's unpleasant to call the servants. I can't do it. Can you? She turned to Marya Nikolaevna. I'm scared, answered Marya Nikolaevna. Frightening as it was for Levine to put his arms around that frightening body, to hold those places under the blanket that he did not want to know about, he yielded to his wife's influence, made the resolute face she knew so well, put his arms under the blanket and took hold of him, but in spite of his strength he was amazed at the strange heaviness of those wasted limbs. As he turned him over, feeling an enormous, emaciated arm around his neck, Kitty quickly, inaudibly, turned the pillow over, plumped it up, and straightened the sick man's head, and his thin hair again stuck to his temple. The sick man kept his brother's hand in his own. Levine felt that he wanted to do something with his hand, and was drawing it somewhere. Levine yielded with a sinking heart. Yes, he drew it to his mouth and kissed it. Levine shook with sobs, and, unable to get a word out, left the room. If you enjoy this format, please leave a like and subscribe and return tomorrow for the next chapter.